We're here with Immortal Technique. He's in the house, and he's got a new documentary coming out. We call this Rebel Headquarters, so it's actually perfectly appropriate that you'd be here.
Thank you.
The documentary is The Revolution of Immortal Technique, which makes sense. All right, so let's just do it from the top. I mean, tell me your whole story. Where were you born? Where do you live?
I was born in el Hospital Militar de Lima in South America, and at that particular time, there was a growing conflict in between Shining Path guerrillas, Maoist section of a splinter organization of socialist rebels, and the paramilitaries and the government, which was sponsored by America and other factions looking for access to natural resources, as it always is. And my father...
No, we would never do that. Corporations from the United States looking for natural resources in Latin America, come on.
I think what was more a factor in us moving was when my father explained to me, and for people that are suffering economic downturn in America as a result of, you know, whether you want to say it was the past president's policies or just Wall Street robbing people, we had a 1,200% inflation rate a year. So in all that poverty and all that violence going on, my father figured that it was a genius idea to uproot the family and move us to Harlem in the 1980s.
Well, it's a good thing you were escaping from poverty. So I'm massively curious about all the details of your life. So what did your dad do in Peru?
He was teaching at a military academy.
Oh, that's interesting.
He became a professor. He didn't want to have anything to do with the military afterwards. And he became a teacher. And then my mother was a teacher.
What did he teach? Do you remember?
He taught physics.
How old were you when you came to the U.S.?
Oh, I was only a few years old. You know, I was a young child, but at the same time, when I was about 7, my parents brought me back for the first time so I could understand it. And it was very impactful for me to realize, you know, hey, I'm walking around, you know, it's what they call the ghetto in Harlem. But at the same time, you know, here's another dimension of poverty. Here's something that most Americans really don't understand. Like, you see someone begging for change, and sometimes people look at them with spite. What happens when it's a 6-year-old child begging for change? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one thing to say, oh, there's a prostitute on the street. What happens when that prostitute's 10 years old? You know, it adds another dimension of the suffering for people. So I think, you know, in the documentary, we went into that. We went to lots of different places, Afghanistan, Colombia, and we didn't ask questions about whose kids they were, who were they orphaned by, what was the deal. It's just the fact that, you know, the Taliban began because they were orphaned by a civil war, by a conflict with Russia. All these conflicts thrown together. Some of them went to Pakistan, some of them stayed there. And at the same time, we don't want people to grow up in ignorance and hatred anymore. We want them to grow up not Americanized and Westernized. That's not the end-all, be-all to all the solutions, but grow up to have an open mind. And we don't politicize children or anything like that. We just give them an opportunity that they wouldn't have if they were starving in the street somewhere. It all starts here, and this is the last resort. I always tell kids, don't glorify this. War is not something to be glorified. It's something that destroys people. Even the winners of war come home feeling ripped apart because of what they've had to do. You can tell them that they're heroes, but some of them will always carry the pain of having to take another human being's life, because a real man doesn't take glory in that. He understands that that was a part of his duty and service, and that a soldier is only a piece of a warrior, and that a warrior is only a piece of a man. And that coming back like that, really, we should pay a lot more attention to the veterans as well. And I just want to close with saying that.
All right, Tech, thanks so much for joining us on the Young Turks, man. We appreciate it.
Sir.
And everybody check out The Revolution of Immortal Technique.
Peace.